Good evening, all. Welcome to another episode of Blues Down Under, Care Mancunian Way. Your host, Pat, back in the chair, and joined again by Rich and Governor. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hope all is doing well. It's good to be back on another episode of what is essentially the Savinio tap-in of the Mancunian Way.
It was
may not be effective, but it gets the job done.
No, it was very effective.
I had to mention it at the top of the show because it was.
It was up there.
That'll probably go down as our best memory of Savinio unless he scores like a 96-minute winner to win the Champions League.
No, that was up there with Cherky's Rabona, I reckon.
So you're saying it was he planned it all along?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you know what's funny? I was going to put it on the same. Do you put it on the same sort of bracket of goals as say Jack Grealish's first? Do you remember that one?
The one Balotelli missed in pre-season.
No, I'm thinking. Remember Jack's first goal? I think it was Norwich or something, where he basically just had no idea where it was. It's just come off his knee or something and just sort of fallen into the goal. Do you remember that one?
I definitely saw Savinio look down and nonchalantly flick it with his knee, just nonchalantly. You'll be claiming some of Goater's goals weren't intended soon and not having it.
Oh, so he did use his shoulder, though. He did.
What?
He did the old thingy, didn't he?
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah. Just
is the game missing someone like a Balotelli?
No, we've got.
Do you think the Premier League is missing someone like a Balotelli?
Oh, I think I'm missing someone like a Balotelli, but I don't know if the Premier League is.
No.
We are the Premier League, though.
Yeah,
we know what's best for the Premier League.
Yeah, we do need some more, more fun in the game. I think there aren't too many, what we'd say in Australia, and anyone watching from the UK won't know what we talk about. But there aren't too many larrikins left in the in football.
Yeah.
So we've got to get more Aussieisms into the show. Make it more.
Larrikin is a good way to put it, actually, when you think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely a larrikin, and I'm just a bit gutted he didn't come and play in Sydney because I don't really go and watch football here, but Balotelli's one of the few people who would have got me to go to a game.
Season tickets for the whole family, Rich?
Oh, if Balotelli was there, Balotelli or John Staines. Obviously, John Staines. I'd have a season ticket in Perth if John Staines was to come down and play for him.
Well, look,
Yeah.
Rich, I know you were on Sundays post-match, for Newcastle and that, but, I'm sure we had to wait, or I'm sure you would have held back a little bit on what you had to say about John Stones because, I wanted to turn a little bit of this show into the John Stones Appreciation Society, which it justifiably should be.
Definitely.
But
And,
before we do, just quickly, just wanted to post these as well. Dash, of course, coming in with the links, Samaritans over in the UK. Anybody just struggling a little bit, don't, always get in touch with them. I believe Beyond Blue is a good one as well, too. And there is a care helpline as well, too, with New South Wales Emergency Services as well, too. So, if you don't suffer in silence, there's always someone out there you can talk to. And don't forget, too, he's got his crowd fundraiser going on as well, too, for against teen cancer as well. I will post a QR code later in the show as well, too, if anybody wants to access and donate that as well, too. So, big up to everybody here. Hope we're doing well. Thank you very much. Look, obviously I wasn't here on Sunday, but just quickly, last run through of the game against Newcastle. Chalk and cheese from obviously midweek against Forest and that, but fantastic performance from the guys. I mean, that many changes, probably brings us, was giving me a little bit of PTSD thinking about something like the Leverkusen game where they 10 players went up to speed with anything playing together unless it was on the training pitch. But, they sort of weathered the storm a bit. I think Newcastle did put us under the pump there for about 20, 25 minutes. But after that, just completely just switched on and were just an absolute juggernaut for the remainder of the game. Obviously, guys, Rich and I are going to wax lyrical about John Stones and how I think it's one of the greatest. It's such a shame that he didn't get a deserved assist for that ball through to Savinho because that was one of the greatest passes I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
I think we've got Newcastle's. I think we've got Newcastle's number really myself. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's funny you say that, Governor, because we joke about saying that Newcastle's now become the Real Madrid domestically. Well, ironically, we've got to talk about the build up to Real Madrid coming up on Wednesday too. So, there's a lot of things a lot of positives I take from that too. But off the top of your head, you got to think there's going to be at least 4 or 5 changes from that current squad on Sunday to what's going to play midweek against Real Madrid. Surely,
only 4 or 5. I mean, I think on Saturday morning, everyone would have expected 10 changes from that side, or maybe possibly 9 from that side to face Madrid. So I'll be surprised if there's fewer than 8 changes.
Wait, do you know? I mean, I'm talking about not how many changes from Forest to Newcastle, how many changes from Newcastle to Madrid.
Yeah, I think there'll be at least 8 changes.
So you think it'll be it'll be a complete reversal back again?
I think he rested 9 players intending them to start in Madrid. I think he tested probably O'Reilly and Nunes before that game were the only ones who had a chance for Madrid. That could have changed a bit now because there are a couple who may have earned their way in. But I still think, he's going to play Diaz in Madrid. He's going to play Donnarumma. He's going to play Aït-Nouri. He's going to play Rodri. He's going to play Bernardo. I mean, he's going to play Haaland. So, I think there's a couple of spots up for grabs. Maybe.
Who they got missing, Pat, do you know? That would depend on
Rodrigo's effectively out for the season. He's done ligaments in his knee. Mbappe, they said, is 50-50 just to get back for the second leg. So you won't see him at the Bernabeu.
Bellingham's out first leg.
Sorry?
And left back, both the first and second choice left backs are out, I think.
Right.
And Carvajal's out. So they've got Trent probably Hyson and Rudiger, Courtois. Left back, they're talking about Mendy maybe playing, but he played 90 minutes the other day and he hasn't played 2 games on the trot for a long while with his injuries. I think Chimene and Valverde will start in midfield, maybe Camavinga, or maybe that young lad Thiago coming through. And then up front,
Jude Bellingham's been sidelined with a thigh injury as well too. But a lot of the players you see don't turn up for La Liga matches doesn't mean anything when it comes to line up in the Champions League because we've seen it before.
So who's he got up front? Just Vinny.
Well, I'll go. This is the lineup that they had
Who,
against Celta Vigo on the weekend
Ian?
against Celta Vigo in La Liga, which they only just won 2-1, by the way. Their Courtois in goal. The back four was Trent, Asensio, Rudiger, and Ferland Mendy. Midfielder Valverde, Arda Güler, Chouameni, and a Pitak Pina. Haven't heard of him yet. Watch him score midweek. And a front two, Ibrahim Diaz and Vinicius Junior.
Jeez.
So sounds like they're quite short in terms of resources at the moment.
And they're trying to make themselves as massive underdogs. They're painting it as almost a done deal. City go through. They're really painting it like that. It's but
you can't really believe it, can you? Really?
See, I don't like it. I definitely didn't like it when they talk like that when Ancelotti was a manager, and even though he's gone, I still don't like it because it's Real Madrid. It's the badge. There's a reason why they've won 15 in a row.
They've had
not 15 in a row, sorry, but they won 15 in their history. So
they've had a lot better squads and a lot better, teams than they have now. Even full strength, they're not anywhere near as good as they were a few years ago. They've never, they haven't got close to replacing Kroos and Modric in the midfield. They haven't got close really to replacing their fullbacks with Carvajal injured. And I think even up front, the reality is they had hundreds of millions of talent up front, but Mbappe, Bellingham, and Rodrigo are out. So, and are they really going to risk Mbappe being out for months more, rushing him back half fit?
I mean, if you go back to when we played PSG in the semi-final about 5 years ago, I remember they were a bit touch and go on Mbappe, but I don't think Mbappe's injury was anywhere near as bad as what they're saying now, but they still didn't play him as precaution, which I thought was a bit funny because, usually at that time of the season, they should be going for Champions League when most season they pretty much got the French league wrapped up.
But someone like Mbappe, with the World Cup coming in a few months, I don't think a lot of these players are going to allow themselves to be played if they think it's going to cost them playing in the World Cup. I think a lot of them, particularly egos like Bellingham and Mbappe, are going to be thinking about number one. And, ultimately for Mbappe, number one's going to be, winning the World Cup for France in the US, even ahead of, Real Madrid in the Champions League.
Yeah. And JMCFC says it here too. I mean, Madrid come alive in knockout stages. You can never rule them out.
No, of course you can't.
They're a completely different animal in knockout stages to what they are in group stages / league phase.
Yeah. So. The one massive difference, though, this time to us in Madrid is in a lot of times we've played them in the past, they've had a weekend off before the tie, or they've been able to rest their players on the weekend. This will be the first time ever we've played Madrid when we'll have rested most of our players at the weekend and most of their players will have played at the weekend. So for once, we'll be in the short term slightly fresher than them, which has rarely ever happened. They've nearly always had.
If they are struggling for a side, I can see they'll try and hold out in this game on midweek, and then they'll probably still try and snatch it at our place. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I think it could mean that probably, I've heard it talk about this on ESPN and a couple of City pods, but, the thinking that we might actually have more of the ball and be a little bit less transitional because Madrid are not going to be able to come and run Rodrigo, Mbappe and Vinicius again. So like nearly every time we've played them, we've had those dual threats, balls coming in, and we've been a bit more transitional. I don't think they're going to be able to do that. They're going to be really thinking we don't want to concede. We want to catch them on the break with Vinicius. I suspect Real Madrid are going to be a bit less gung-ho than they often have been against us.
They won't play a whole block at home now, would they?
I'm not saying a low block, but by Madrid standards, maybe, because they're not going to be able to. They're not going to be. They just don't have the players playing to try and attack us like they have in previous games.
Yeah, and we can't play transitional if they do play a bit deeper.
JMCFC, I'd probably say, yeah, get the freshness. We have to travel, but you've also got to remember too, something that doesn't happen often during February, March, was we just come off back-to-back 7-day breaks in between football as well too. So for some of those players, it's going to feel like they've been on light training or almost had some time off. You know, Pep's allowed them 2 separate stints of being able to just have a couple of days in the sun down south, basically. So I get where you're coming from. Travel is trouble. I totally understand that, but we're, in terms of squad fitness, we're in a position for this time of the season where we haven't been in for a long time.
One player out at the moment.
Yeah.
Because Kovacic is right back in it, kicking the crap out of Haaland. Did you see Haaland's picture of his leg after Kovacic went through him with his studs in training?
No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, no, Haaland was there with a big cut on his leg because Kovacic's stud went in a bit. You know, we trained pretty hard. I think it's only Guardiola who isn't in full training at the moment.
It's coming good for the team, and good timing.
Yeah.
You got to remember, JMCFC. Like Erling didn't even go to Newcastle, did he? He stayed He didn't. So a couple of them didn't even travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that's good, well.
It is one of those things where, you know, you look at it, and I think that's typical City fans, isn't it? Just like everything's been working in our favour for the last few weeks, and then we just immediately have self-doubt that it's all, anything that can go wrong could possibly go wrong, and it will. But I've got to say, it's just like, I do feel like we are setting ourselves up for maybe just hopefully a lot of this squad are just in a position right now where they can just put their foot on the gas for the next few months, just go absolutely hell for leather. Just go for everything. Try and get on that little bit of a wing run. And a lot of these players, we wanted to play themselves into form with the World Cup coming up as well too.
Yeah.
I really do feel like there's just been dwelling on it over the weekend, the last few days. Like Forrest is well and truly in the rearview mirror now, and I just feel like now I think maybe that was the kick in the ass that the squad needed, and they came out and they responded very well against Newcastle. And I think if you ever really want to truly know where you stand in terms of how you're playing as a team or how you're playing as an individual player, then what better place to do it at the Bernabeu? And I think the lads will be really up for it.
Yeah,
I expect a bit of the dark arts, a bit of BS football, maybe even some anti-football, you know, from Real Madrid. But we've dealt with that sort of stuff before.
Yeah. What do you think about the defence? Who do you think you'll put in the 2 centre backs?
Do you know what, Gov? I'm at a point right now where the defence it's a win-win. Well, in our case of depth, it's about 20 different variations of win-win, basically, because they all offer something good or something better than the previous defender can do anyway. But whoever he decides to go with, I'm really happy with. I have absolutely no problems if he wants to go the Kuzanov route to try and nullify Vinicius Jr. You know, if you want that solidity at the back and you want to go Gahey and Diaz, then that's fine. By the way, too, I'm excited to see how Gahey performs, because I think this will be his first ever Champions League match, I believe.
I wonder, and I know you'll get bored of this because I bang on about it every bloody Mancunian way ever. Playing 3 proper defenders, would he consider not playing Nunes if he's going to bring out Nori back? Not playing Nunes and play Kuzanov right back, or not bringing out Nori back and playing, you know, Gay left back with Kuzanov centre back, because Kuzanov's insurance because of his pace. So he does give us insurance on the break, but I'm not sure I'd want to play Diaz either. I think Diaz was absolutely fantastic a couple of games recently, and his experience, he's been there to the Bernabeu many times. He knows what it's like to win a Champions League. So for me, you know, I would consider playing Kuzanov, Gay, and Diaz, and then choosing which fullback You play.
Would you? I'd probably go with Nori. Nori just seems best suited for this sort of game.
I would
But
probably
saying
do the
that
same
too, I think, is it safe to say every defender, every centre back right now, with the exception of obviously Guardiola, has kind of played themselves into a bit of form right now.
Yeah.
Every single
would
one of them
do
has an
that.
argument to say, "Hey, I should be on the pitch. I should be on the pitch in Madrid on Wednesday."
Yeah, I mean,
if Vinny Junior starts causing trouble though, then I'd bring Cuz on for that.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
and that's why that's what I'm saying. I would pick Kuzanov, Gay, and Diaz, and then one of the fullbacks, and just decide whether, maybe it's Kuzanov's best played right back. Because then when they go up, we just leave the three sitting there, three top defenders.
Yeah.
Two of them are quick, one of them to organise and everything, and I think that's just perfect.
Yeah.
I do think Nunes and Aït-Nouri still gives us the prospect of pushing up too far forward. And in a way, I prefer if one of them was doing it and the other one was more of an out-and-out defender.
Yeah.
So if you had it your way, would you be still sticking with the four centre-backs like we did in that 4-0 game?
No, I like three. I liked three and Cancelo. Because Walker really was he was such an out-and-out defender that Walker was like, he could play centre-back. And I think that's why that's one of the reasons why we were so good against Newcastle, because we actually had three centre-backs in Stones, Ake, and Kuzanov. We had three centre-backs. So when Nunes was up, and Nunes was almost playing number 10, had a great game. And I'm not saying we should drop Nunes because he had a great game, but we had three centre-backs, and three centre-backs with Gonzalez in front was rock solid. I thought we were, exception of that one mistake for their goal, we were rock solid against them.
Yeah.
And that's what three centre-backs brings.
I agree, yeah.
Spartacus is in the chat. Big up, mate. Hope you're well. He says the answer to stop pace is not pace. It's stopping the pass and having us so trapped in the safety net. Agreed, mate. But again, Kuzanov is that insurance in case, we get dispossessed in bad positions as well too. But I would like to think that hopefully whatever lineup Pep puts out there, I don't know if you agree with me, Rich. I hope the aim is to go in there and absolutely dominate the midfield.
I think one lesson we learned from Madrid is when we did really well against Madrid was when we had 100% fit Kyle Walker, who could run down Rodrigo or Vinicius when they got away with the ball. And so Spartacus is right. If you don't let them get a through pass or have an upside trap, that works perfectly. You don't need it, but it pays to have insurance. If you drive carefully, you don't need, in theory, you don't need insurance. But things happen in football where having insurance is good. And Kuzanov is insurance. We've seen it a couple of games this season where, teams have broken on us and he's been able to get back and clean it up.
That's right. Excellent. Would you, with their midfield missing now, would you have Rodri and O'Reilly in the middle?
Well, can Rodri play? Because I thought the suspension from Bodo Glimt was still in effect. Well, three matches or whatever it is.
Oh, is it? Oh,
I believe so. I mean, I'm going off the live score app, and they've still got him listed as out due to the red card.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is that I haven't heard anybody mention it. Because
okay.
it happened again. He got the red card against Bodo Glimt, which was, I think, match day 7. It was a straight red too, wasn't it? So it's 3. I think it's 3 matches, isn't it, or is it 2?
It wasn't for dangerous foul play, though, was it?
I'm not sure because, like I said, live score still says that he's out. He's not playing with it because he's got a straight red.
Well, a red's 3 games, isn't it? In the league.
We'll see. TH5D. It's just said. He's just said it was a second yellow, so it should be 1. So maybe they just haven't updated it yet.
I thought it was. I think he's playing or he's able to play.
Yeah, it's just funny because nobody. It just hasn't been. I just haven't. It hasn't been mentioned around city circles. At least what I haven't heard. So yeah, I'm not too sure.
A red for 2 yellows is 1 game, and a red for if it's not serious foul play, it's 1 game as well.
Yeah,
it's only serious foul play that you get 3 games.
Yeah, it should be 1 match, but if anybody can clarify that, it's just weird because I thought it was a bit bizarre seeing that there because I don't remember. It was a second yellow, wasn't it? And it wasn't. Second yellow was just basically 1 game. That's it. And he went off and put his feet up midweek against Galatasaray.
He had a 1 match ban, so he's
So I don't understand why it hasn't updated. I mean, Maybe he just
Well-
hasn't updated in relation
well,
to
If he
previous
is
lineups
missing,
or whatever.
if he is missing, O'Reilly's going to have to stay in there then.
I think O'Reilly will stay in there anyway. I
think
think
so.
O'Reilly. I think if O'Reilly's fit, he
Yeah.
starts at 8.
Yep.
He is.
Gotta stay in there.
He's our Yaya of today. He has got. He can defend. He can run. He can tackle. He can pass. He can score.
Got the height.
He does cover. He does cover a bit more ground off the ball, though.
Oh yeah, no, he's he's Yaya on steroids.
Yeah.
He's so I think if O'Reilly's fit, he's first day on the team sheet.
Yeah.
And I think we saw on Saturday that whether it's Rodri or Gonzalez, I thought Gonzalez was fantastic against Newcastle.
Yeah.
He did.
I think he's showed that all that time off, and he's played exactly as he had before Rodri came back. So, in a way, it'd be more disappointing if O'Reilly was out than if Rodri was out.
Well, this was the lineup that we had when we played him at the Bernabeu back in December. It was Donnarumma in goal. We had a back four of Nico O'Reilly. Nico O'Reilly was still playing left back at the time. Gvardiol, Ruben Diaz, and Mateus Nunes. Obviously, some of that's going to change. Midfielder Phil Foden, Nico Gonzalez, and Bernardo Silva, and then a front. Well, not really a front three because it was kind of Christmas tree formation, but it was Jeremy Doku, Ryan Cherky, and Erling Haaland.
And I must admit, the one player who I would think has possibly earned their way back into the team, because I think Semenyo will start, I think, and Haaland will, but I would pick Doku. I would pick Doku on the left because I think Doku and Savinho offer us that width, and Doku does things no one else can. And I thought Real Madrid were frightened of him last time. And if their right back's going to be Trent Alexander-Arnold, then I cannot think of anything better than world football than watching Doku against Arnold, because Doku will get past him about 50.
I was just about to say that. I'm praying we get a Doku Trent show.
So for me, the dilemmas for Pep is going to be: does he play Kuzanov because of his pace? And if he does he play him, like I say, as 3 centre backs, or does he play him centre back with either Diaz or Gay? And it's pretty bloody hard to drop Diaz or Gay at the moment. So, does he play Doku with Semenyo and Haaland? And I assume he's going to play
Bernardo and then Doku.
Well, yeah. I mean, fewer people were asking. The Sarah and JMC were asking about if Bernardo starts. I think you can't not put Bernardo in a game like this. He's probably just as first name as Donnarumma or Haaland for this game, to be honest.
But that does mean that you start Doku, and then you're looking at your bench, and you've got Mamouche on your bench after scoring 2. You've got Savinho on the bench after man of the match. You've got Cherky and Foden on the bench. Reinders on the bench. I mean, you're starting to really see, the strength.
As I said, the players I said earlier, Rich, the players are starting to find or force themselves into, finally forcing themselves into getting into form.
Yeah, at the right time.
A combination of making sure that they're going to be on the plane over to North America, and number 2, getting themselves played into that form for the World Cup. Yeah.
But he's got that dilemma. He plays Doku, he doesn't play Cherky.
Big up to Linny as well, too. We're kind of just going to do a little bit of an ask the audience. So get your questions in, guys, anyway, because I'm really curious to see what happens midweek against Madrid. But he said, I hope we're all doing well. Do we start Semenyo? We already answered the question about Doku. I think Doku does start, but would you look at the possibility of Semenyo playing?
I was going to say Semenyo
because I think it'll be his Champions League debut.
Yeah, with Rich saying that, I reckon Doku should play instead of Semenyo on the left.
And then you play Cherky, because I was thinking Semenyo and Doku, but it's hard to drop Semenyo. And I think Semenyo was rested against Newcastle to play in Madrid.
Yeah, he came off the bench though, didn't he? It was like 10, 20 minutes or something like that.
Yeah. But it really is.
We've got so many options.
How can you leave Cherky out?
Oh, look who's decided to show up for a change.
I think I'd like Turkey to come.
Elliot, you got my number, mate. Just text me if you want to pop on. I'll send you the link.
Yeah, Turkey coming off the bench, definitely.
Yeah.
Second half, let him run riot.
And how good is it that, ultimately, we can probably, we could, if we weren't getting goals, bring on, depending on who starts, but let's say it's Bernardo, Doku, Haaland and Semenyo, then you can bring on Cherki for Bernardo, you can bring on Savinho, you can bring on Marmoush, you can bring on Foden. And
He said perfectly. We've got a lovely dilemma.
Yeah.
Plenty of great problems right
dilemma, now.
You can bring on, Reinders was a funny one against Newcastle because in terms of his running and getting themselves into position, I've not seen a midfielder set themselves up for more good chances in a Premier League game this season.
You could have had a hat trick in the. You could have had 4 goals in the first half.
He could have had 4 or 5.
Got to finish.
4 in the first half. Yeah.
And there's part of me that says, well, the hardest thing's getting in the positions and doing those runs, which were brilliant. But then he missed them all. It's like,
Bit of. What do you think, Rich? I think I said in the group chat, bit of Gundogan about some of those runs he made.
Yeah.
I think we'll
something promising. Something promising. Maybe not. I don't know about the end of this season.
A little bit more.
Because nobody beats clutch Gundogan. Gundogan from March to May was one of the most clutch footballers we've ever seen in English football. But I think maybe something for future years. You never know. You never know.
Come on.
You never know.
Ryan's is a little bit quicker of the body, not quicker of the mind than Gundogan, but he is a little bit quicker. So he could get into positions that Gundogan wouldn't because of his pace.
In terms of reading a football game, I think maybe second to David Silva, Gundogan was up there.
Yeah, and then
at least reading how we play modern football. Yeah.
How do we fit City's greatest player, John Stones, in as well? Because he was rolling back the years with some of those passes on Saturday.
I won't get over that pass. I mean, I'm so we try to do everything to not have Savinho agendas, but unfortunately, mate, you're going to get one from me.
Yeah. If only he could have had
Savinho denied John Stones the assist of the season.
Yeah.
And that's it.
It was De Bruyne-esque. It was De Bruyne-esque. I'm sorry, it was De Bruyne-esque.
That's the frustrating.
I'm going to say it right now. Barnsley De Bruyne.
The frustrating thing about it was the pass, but he should have gone for goal.
Yeah.
Not square it.
It
would have been even better.
There were little moments there of the magic that only John Stones can bring to a defence.
Yeah.
He just looked so comfortable there, didn't he? And the thing is that I'm glad to see him play well, especially in a big game like that away at St James's Park. And I'm just screaming for him to be on the pitch there at the Bernabeu, but you can't play him every 3-4 days anymore. I'd wrap him up in cotton wool. I'd wrap him up in cotton wool, and then I'd have him ready for me to play Liverpool in the cup.
Absolutely. Yeah, I want the winning goal against Liverpool in the cup. No, absolutely. I think, to be honest with you, it would be very, very harsh on Diaz or Gay not to play. I think they've been really good. And I think in some ways, because it's Madrid and because, of their weaknesses, we probably could do with the athleticism of Nunes or Aït-Nouri or Kuzanov more than Stones is just Beckenbauer-esque brilliance. We can keep that for a different game.
It's not a bad.
If you're talking about 5-3 centre backs, Rich, what do you think? What do you think about City 4 in a row says with the 5-3-2?
Yeah, but we're already having problems finding who they're. Getting down to 3 for the front line. I think if we had to get down to 2, it's even harder.
Yeah.
And I don't know that a Real Madrid without Rodrigo, Bellingham, and Vinicius needs 3 centre backs.
I think we've got to take advantage if it's true and then players aren't playing. We've got to take advantage of it.
I think, there's no point in going and thinking we'll put 5 at the back and go for 0-0. I think we'll go and get a couple of goals.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
force them into desperation for the second leg.
Mm.
Should we look at trying to possibly build a lineup for this one?
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's a tough one, but it's also good because, like I said, I think whoever we choose to go with, I think everybody has is justified in their reasoning, because it'd have the benefits of them playing would be there's more pros and cons basically. I don't know, but look, I think we're all agreed. Obviously, Donnarumma in goal.
Yeah.
Right back, we're all agreed on Nunes.
No.
No, I don't know.
Okay, you want Kuzanov, do you?
I quite fancy seeing Kuzanov as in the team against Real Madrid, but I also want Gay and so it's either Gay left back or Kuzanov right back.
It's not going to be Gay. The closest Gay will get to that, Rich, would be left centre back in a back three.
It'd be centre back.
He'd be the left centre back in a back three.
So what I'm saying is, I want Kuzanov right of the three especially when we attack. Diaz and Gay, and then a fullback who slides in and they roll across. So either
who would you have ahead of him in terms of the link-up play on the right-hand side? Who do you think would be better suited? Would it be Semenyo or would you play Savinho again? And Savinho played himself into some decent form, and we know his best form also is this season has been in Champions League games too.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't play Doku, and I don't think I'd play Doku and Savinho, and I'd put Doku ahead of Savinho. So, I'd be.
But we agreed Doku on the left side, didn't we? So it'd be Aït-Nouri and Doku on link up on the left.
Aït-Nouri, Doku, yeah, definitely, yeah.
So who do you think would be better? Who do you think would be better suited to play around if Kuzanov was controlling the right side? Would you rather have Savinho in front of him, or would you rather have Semenyo?
I think probably Semenyo.
Because whoever you pick, I think it's a win-win anyway, Rich. Sorry, just quickly, because I was going to say, it's just the thing you always worry about when you're playing big games like this is, I'm always worried about whoever the defender is or wing back is playing behind the attacker, basically, or the winger, is how often they're going to do like the situation of like Cancelo and Jack Grealish, where they're just constantly in each other's space, trying to tread on each other's boots. You know, and I get what you're saying. I like the idea of Kuzanov too, because I think Kuzanov would know where to play and where not to play. I think at the end of the day, his job would be more primarily defense. He wouldn't necessarily be.
I think Doku's going to roam. You see, so I think.
So you think he'll just have free roam the entire front three?
If we play the team with Kuzanov right back going into defence, Aït-Nouri's going to be bombing up, right on the left, and Doku's going to roam into the middle. Yeah, Doku's going to run in behind Haaland and create a bit of panic. As they all focus on Haaland, Doku's running in behind. Semenyo probably, on the right. Bernardo probably.
Do you consider him a right back in a 4-3-3 though?
Yeah, because I think you're not really playing 4-3-3. You're really playing 3-1-6 or something.
But then if you do that again, you're going back to sort of treble days with John Stones, because you'd rather have someone like him. You'd have someone, if you were going to do that, you'd rather have someone like him instead of Kuzanov doing that though, wouldn't you?
No, because Kuzanov's in
I suppose probably that changes now because obviously Kyle Walker's not here.
Yeah, Kuzanov's the Kyle Walker of the he's the insurance. He's not a bad passer of the ball. He's better than Kyle Walker, I think, at passing. He's not quite as good at crossing.
I think he's up there as one of probably the top 5. He's probably one of the top 5 to 10 centre backs in the world for his age.
Definitely.
Yeah, easily. Definitely. Yeah.
So I think he gives us insurance. And it gives us complete freedom to let Aït-Nouri go wherever he wants, because we've got the 3 centre-backs, holding out when we're in possession.
I prefer that. I think I prefer that. Yeah.
Yeah. Just quickly, Foggy, again, biggest contributor to the channel and definitely part of the Mancunian way. He is one of us, basically. For everything you do, mate, thank you so much for the 10 gifted memberships. If you did receive one, W's in the chat. Send him all your best wishes and that too. And I hope you're doing well, by the way, too, mate. I hope all is well in your corner of the world. Thank you so much, mate. Much appreciated. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, so you get through the defence, and we're
I
not
think-
fully aligned, but, let's say we go for like Nori because of Diaz and things. That's harsh on Nunes because Nunes has been great all season, but I just think that insurance, just have someone who can shut down Vinicius. Would you start Rodri or would you go Gonzalez?
No, if Rodri's fit, I'd play him.
Rodri, yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Rodri's rested as well too. He didn't see a minute on St James's, didn't he?
Anyone not want to start Nick O'Reilly at 8?
Oh no, he's up there with Bernardo,
Yeah,
Donnarumma, and Haaland in terms of first names on the team
Yeah,
sheet.
it's got to be. Yeah, that's about that.
Has to be.
Yeah.
And then you've got the assumption that Bernardo, I think we all think starts, and I think we all think Haaland starts. So that leaves us 2 more attacking positions, really. Whether that's the wingers or whether how we do it. I was thinking Doku and Semenyo, but I hate leaving out Cherky. But
I would do that, Rich. I would do that, and I'd bring Cherky on as an impact in the second half.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Like
especially getting in around that weak, that tired defense as well too, because
you've got to attack him.
Exactly. I'm just going to try and have a look here and just see who else played for Madrid.
Yeah, what was his name? Rudiger. I think Haaland might have a battle with that Rudiger if he's playing.
Oh, there'll be a battle for sure.
Yeah.
I think the secret, though, I think what we've seen with 2 years ago, Haaland's performance in Madrid, was it 3-3? What was that? Wasn't that a game? It was about 3-3 or something in Madrid.
Yeah. When Guardiola scored that worldie. Yeah.
At the end of the game, everyone said, Rudiger and Asensio, I think it was, had Haaland in their pocket. But City had so much space around Real Madrid's box because Haaland pulled in their defence that Foden got a beautiful goal. I think Guardiola did, and whoever the third goal was, because of the space Haaland created. So I'm fine for Rudiger and, whoever, Heisen to go to war with Haaland.
I think it'll be Asensio. He seems to be playing all the time for them now.
If we can keep their 2 centre backs occupied with Haaland, then Semenyo and Doku, players like that with space, that's how we do the damage. So in a way, Haaland,
do you think the key then is, Rich, maybe if Doku can play a bit more of a role and not necessarily causes Trent headaches we expect him the headaches we expect him to, then obviously there's going to be more opportunities to create more space in defense, because hopefully if he can drag Asensio in more, I think there might be more opportunities available there for certain players.
Yeah,
particularly midfield, especially if there's any midfielders that are able to pick their moments and advance in that. Again, I'm not going to say, I don't know if Tijani Reinders will start, but if he's able to make some of those runs against Newcastle, it did against Newcastle, he might get some opportunities. But I don't know. I think the lineup against Newcastle was a lot of process elimination. What you didn't see on the pitch is probably what you're going to see midweek.
Yeah. I'd go with Cherky on the Doku on the left, but he's not to set the corners though. He can't set the corners. No chance.
Oh, you're talking about Savinho with the corners? Yeah,
he's with his corners.
Oh, Savinho's corners. I'm sorry, they were shocking on the weekend.
Shocking.
Oh, terrible. Yeah, but I don't know. Bloody hell.
No, we're not.
What a change from a player. I mean, what is that instruction, or do you know what I mean? How he's running at players, and he wasn't doing that before. Like actually beating his player as well. And Lewis Hall, he had him running ragged. He's
probably been the best. He's been one of the best left backs in the Premier League this season, easily.
Yeah.
So, it's confidence, isn't it? He's a kid. He was confident. Whether his fitness is better than it has been, because he had injury at the start of the season. He's just had an injury. Whether it's the first time he's felt fully fit, or whether it was the goal that just set him free mentally because he got the goal. I don't know, but he played as we know he can. He did against Villarreal and earlier in the season, but he played like we know he can. I thought Doku had a good game as well, and at times Doku was being overshadowed by him.
Yeah,
but Doku, was having a cracker.
That's what you want to see from your wingers.
You
know.
know. And that's the beautiful thing. If we start Doku, we can bring Savinho on after the hour and give someone else a rest and, let Savinho run at a tired Madrid defence.
Yeah.
Especially if they have to play Mendy. He probably hasn't played 2 games in a week for a long time with his injury. So, he's going to be feeling the pressure by the second half.
It's interesting. James CFC says anyone playing Erling and Omar together.
No.
It's, yeah.
No,
not in this game.
I think it's very niche. I think he works
I've
in
always
certain
said Omar
lineups,
Marmoush
and I don't think
is an
Madrid's one of them.
Etihad player. He can't play away from home unless it's Newcastle.
Oh no! We need someone. We need someone to. We need one of the away fans to sneak their way into the stadium tour. They can find the kits that Madrid are going to wear and put black stripes on them. Then Omar Marmoush is going to score 5. That's the only way I think we'll get Marmoush on if Marmoush does anything. But yeah.
I could see it working, but not in games like that. No chance.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Marmoush doesn't really. What I loved about Newcastle was we had proper width again, and I'm not sure Marmoush gives us width in any circumstance.
No, you're right. I think he's too much of a central player.
Yeah,
I think he's wasted out. I think he's wasted out wide.
Yep, I do. Yeah, he's dangerous on the edge of the box.
Yeah. So, how would you feel about Marmoush playing in the similar sort of role to like what he did at Frankfurt behind Ekatiko? Would you play him behind Haaland? But again, the problem is that that's probably going to be reserved for, probably reserved for like a Turkey and that.
You got too many number 10s, haven't you? You got Foden. You could play Marmoush there.
Well, we don't know what's happening with Foden because Pep's alluded to him dropping deeper, and he has got deeper, and it's a weird situation. But I've always thought about it. It's like Marmoush's most successful season was at Frankfurt when he played behind their main striker. You wonder if maybe if we tried doing a similar role to him, like a more advanced 10 sort of role.
Yeah, but then you're taking Cherky's place.
No, I know. But Cherky certainly hasn't played as many minutes as people are alluding to either.
Yeah.
I know you say you're taking away your role from Cherky and that, but Cherky isn't playing every game either.
Yeah. No, that makes it even worse.
I know.
No, I mean, I hope that as we go through this really hard part of the season, we do give Haaland a few rests. So I hope we see Marmoush playing centre forward, of our last 15 games or whatever it is we've got left, 15, 20. I hope we start Marmoush 5 or 6 times at centre forward, possibly a few times on the wing. But, we do that. If Rodri gets a 10-game ban, you'd have to ban Arteta for life for his whinging. So, we'd lose our star midfielder for 10 games. Arsenal would lose their manager for life.
Yeah. But if Arteta got a lifetime ban, I'd be the first one there to sort of repeal it because again, he's the artful trophy dodger anyway. So the longer he stays in, the more everybody else gets to win. So it's fine.
I mean, if the talk is that Pep wants to try and do play Foden in the 6, I'm scared that his career could fall away because his best position is definitely 10. So for him to try and change him, and it doesn't.
Well, I mean, he grew up in the academy more as a number 8, didn't he?
But
yeah, it was a little bit deeper. It was more central, wasn't he?
Anything but a 6, I think he could. I'm scared of his career falling away. Try to make him into that position.
See, I thought that he'd be like the everywhere player that Bernardo is. But I'm starting to think that even though they are very, very different, I'm starting to think that our everywhere player is actually Nico O'Reilly. And he's the one, because he's got a footballing brain on him. And considering his age, his footballing brain is fantastic. So maybe there's going to be a very different replacement for that role of Bernardo's, of being the glue in the team, filling in the gaps. Maybe.
So you're saying maybe with Nico O'Reilly, Pep may be considering going back to the drawing board with where do I really play Foden?
Because I think Nico O'Reilly has been exceptional as 8 because he's got the physicality, he's got the attacking play, the defensive play, and he's come in and he played 6 at Newcastle the first time round, but at 8 he's been to Anfield, he's played, these important games, and he's done it like he's been playing 8 all his life, and he gives us a versatility. He gives us, I think that Yaya comparison, is fair. Like, I used to be just gobsmacked watching Yaya. He played centre-back in the Champions League final and did a good job at centre-back in the Champions League final. Yet he was pinging in, shots from all areas. His passing was like second only to De Bruyne in that, in that team, and he was the De Bruyne passer. Silva was much more intricate, but Yaya had those longer passes. He had the ability to run the length of the pitch straight through another team. He finished well. And I think Nico O'Reilly's got those, except he's a lot harder working than Yaya. And I think maybe he's better coached in that he's got a more... Yaya's talent was kind of natural, and he didn't seem to be coached into, whereas Nico O'Reilly has some of that intrinsic football feel, but he also seems to be really well coached in how to do that most effectively. So he seems to be, in some ways, have a lot of Yaya's strengths, but not Yaya's weaknesses. And he's a young lad. So let's hope that
supposedly, if Anderson's our top target, O'Reilly is a similar player for what he wants to do, really, isn't he?
Yeah, that worries me, unless he's thinking that, Anderson is playing a 6 and Rodri's going and O'Reilly continues where he is.
Until we know that decision, yeah.
Because I wouldn't want Elliot Anderson ahead of O'Reilly, honestly. But if Rodri's going, then we do need, somebody who can play a very good 6. And I think Elliot Anderson isn't as good. I don't think he's probably quite as good at the attacking and finishing as O'Reilly, but he's a very good forward, very good forward passer, Elliot. So he could probably go in front of a defence and behind O'Reilly.
Yeah, no, he's everywhere.
I still love Adam Morton, but and he might be a bit cheaper if they go down, but and he's a bit more different, but it seems we've gone off the Wharton idea.
We did joke about the Anderson watch when they did play us, and he had a great game against us, didn't he?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's like you're trying out for your new club, mate. Doesn't mean you can go and have a great game. The two players from that club we're linked to both bloody score.
That's right. Right in the shot window. If they go down,
definitely,
in the shot window.
There he is.
Yes, lads.
No longer on the side of milk cartons, mate. You're back.
How are we?
All right.
Very good.
Yeah.
Good. Share about your John Stones loving, is it?
Exactly, mate. Yeah. No wonder you piped up.
Yeah, well. I will win, man. I will win.
He
should have had the assist of the decade against Newcastle.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not sure about the decade, Rich, but yeah, I agree with this season, definitely.
Did you go, Elliot?
Yeah, I went to Newcastle, yeah. Yeah, enjoyable, to be fair. Very enjoyable. A lot of a lot of
a lot of like young people were there. To be fair, obviously, I think it was not school on like the next day and that, so they were able to go and that, and the mum and dads took them and that. So yeah, it were good. It were the first 25 minutes are a little bit not too sure about
Dodgy,
this,
yeah.
like, but
Yeah,
now we got a foothold in the game, and I thought, like you said, there was going to be one winner from then.
that's right.
Yeah.
Obvious.
There's
Go
a
on, man.
fan going. I went to there hasn't been too many of them, but I went to Spurs a few back in. I was going to say a few years ago. It was in the Centurion season where it was an 8 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday. It certainly makes for a good day because
definitely.
we were out at lunchtime and the state of the crowd was excellent because half of it was the singing, everyone was half cut.
Yeah.
Do you know what, Richard? I noticed that a lot. Do you know, like recently, even like I think it was Leeds away the other week. Like obviously 8 o'clock kickoff and that, and you do notice a little bit more. And I think even like both sets of fans. I mean, I think Newcastle fans were decent for the first 25. To be fair, they did stick with the team, so I'm probably not going to go into what on them. But I think you get that sort of little bit of a, you know what I mean? You're out on the booze for like near enough all day, and then and then I think if I'm honest, I think it's one of them as well, Rich, where it suits a lot of like people like I've just said, the fans, like you know, have to go out early because like when there's our 12 kickoffs, man, it's just I think it's poor, to be fair. Like I say, it doesn't really help anybody, and like
you go up Saturday morning, book a travel lodge at Saturday night if you want to stay up there and have a drink afterwards, not come home. I mean, if you're gonna have to drive home, it's a bit of a pain, but if you want to make a day of
Well, let's be honest, Rich. A drive up and back in accommodation is probably going to be less than a train.
dump the car, late morning, go out, have a big day in Newcastle, back to your hotel, drive back the next day. Newcastle's a lovely city to go out for a beer with as well. Good place to go for a drink. All nice and together, lots of pubs near the ground. Decent pubs. One of the better places to go.
Yeah, no, and like you say, I think obviously just on the performance, I thought it was good. Obviously, I think recently, we've picked up a little bit of form. I mean, I can't say it other than last Wednesday was it? I think that was a big setback, to be honest. I think that was a little bit of a kick in the teeth, and I more think it was the performance more than the actual result. If that makes sense, I feel like the way that we played was almost a bit like it took me back to like probably a bit like last year. I'd say like not as in like I don't think the whole game was, but I just thought in spells it was just very passive and very like. Do you know what I mean? It was. I said to a couple of people after the game, I like the side to side passing backwards. It didn't help for anything. And the problem is when you're playing teams, and I think Rich touched on it earlier on, if I hear correctly, like the thing with like Savio and Doc at the minute is, it offers you something a little bit different. So whereas obviously you naturally just play inside and you play a lot of players like in the middle, Cherky Foden, but that's the main, you're playing more inside. I think on Saturday it was a little bit of a breath of fresh air, say natural wingers, and I put it, and this may be a bold shout, but I put it the closest performance winger wise I've seen since probably the Centurion season with Sané and Sterling. I just think it was very, and I don't know what you thought, lads, but I just thought it was very like picturesque, the first goal. I know it's obviously a bit of a fluke goal from obviously Savio, but the way that obviously Doku beat his man, got it crossed in, and then it was very like reminiscent, to be honest. And yeah, I hope to see that a little bit more. I hope we get to see that little bit of attacking with wingers when we're playing these teams who do just want to sit back and they want to just camp in their own half.
But with the Forest game, they're battling, aren't they? Any side down the bottom there now, you've got to play differently because they're fighting for their lives.
Yeah, I get that, Governor. I get that, Governor. And the thing is, like, and I understand that, and I get, like, this is what I said about Arsenal, to be fair, so I've been fair with it. I've said, like, people look at Arsenal performance and they go, oh, they've got, like, a few teams near the bottom. That's not going to be easy for Arsenal, so I don't buy that myth. But the thing what did me, Governor, was when I was sat, obviously, I stand in in the south stand, and when you were just watching it, mate, it was almost like, and I don't know what it like obviously on TV or whatever, but it just looked like we played like too slow. So it was almost like, I don't know how to explain this. The best way I can explain it was like when we conceded the goals, it was like, come on then, like let's turn it up a little bit and stop playing like as football. And I'm like, what? Where was that to go to like 2-0 up or 3-1 up, or do you know what I mean? I'm a bit like, where's that little bit of urgency? And I think I think it is, Governor. I don't mind the possession football. I've said this since day one. I've never minded that possession-based football, but I think when we do it with a bit of tempo and a bit of speed, we are the best in the world. Now, whether that's coincidence or not, maybe, I don't know, but I've seen Bayern Munich a lot of times season, and I think that's probably what Company's biggest strength's been at Bayern Munich this season. He seems to play that sort of tiki-taka football, but with a little bit of like a bit of pace and a little bit of, you know what I mean, a little bit of gulf, and that's what I felt like we were missing. And maybe we saw that on Saturday. Do you know what I mean? Maybe we did. I know it's obviously different. Well, 10 changes, different game, a different lineup. But I felt we did see that, and for me, tomorrow, you just got to go for it, man. You've got to. Madrid are a wounded animal, and
I think Forest in some ways, Forest was. You know, sometimes how your opinion of a game changes purely because of the result. Because Forest, we had 70% possession. We had twice as many chances as them. Our XG was 1+ more than theirs. But because it was a draw, it felt really bad. But actually, I don't think it was that bad a performance. I think it was a game we deserved to win.
Which was similar to when we played Forest away in that treble season. We said we played really well. We just couldn't convert chances or...
So to me, we're a bit down about the Forest game, but actually, I think it's more the result than the performance in a way. I don't think the performance was that bad. But we could have just been a bit... It's almost like we needed to get that third goal, push a bit more earlier, because we're playing teams who have very good quality players. Same with Real Madrid. We know no matter how well we do, if we're only winning by one, Valverde, Vinicius could have a moment of magic that no defence can stop. And, we need to make sure that we take our chances, because, that was a great goal they scored. And you have to hand it to them. But we've got to make sure against teams with quality players, we don't put ourselves in a position where one slight tiny mistake or a brilliant bit of play by another team, it's a draw.
You know what kills me, lads, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this. I'll ask what your thoughts are. What's killed me this season is we've been our own worst enemy. Because I'll tell you what I mean by that. I mean, like the second half performances, and I've tried to explain this to a couple of people, and we both said the same thing. Like me and my brother and like a few other people, and we both said like, come out of the games, like the second half performances. The only people or the only team that helps is the opposition, because if you make a rod for your own back, and if you're playing against a City team where they're vulnerable in second half, I know that sort of come out of it a little bit now, so I'm probably going back a few months, but as an example, the thing is, if you do that, them teams are going to know, right, City naturally second half they normally drop off, so. And this is what I mean, which I agree with what you're saying about the performance. It wasn't horrendous, but I just felt like, and like I just said, we need to go and kill that game off, because I mean, for me, if we get another goal, I think that game's then embedded. Yeah. I think that game's then embedded, and that's my honest opinion on it. I don't think that there's any chance of him coming back. I mean, the subs I thought wasn't bad. I was a little bit. I don't know how to wear this. I'm a little bit unsure about the Cherky change, just because of the fact we were chasing a goal. Now, obviously, I thought maybe play him in the cup on Saturday, the FA Cup, but obviously he didn't. So I was a bit like, I'm not too sure about that change. Just at the minute in time, I just thought, could you not maybe took a defender off you were chasing the game, or maybe I don't know, maybe like a fullback or whatever, and then, do you know what I mean, just sort of go for a little bit more. And I don't know, maybe that's what we need to look at him maybe in the future, but. I think, like Rich said earlier on, and I think the governor as well, will say like we have them options now. So there's no sort of excuses to not get results. You know what I mean? That's where I stand with it. And if we're not going to get results, then go down with a fight. Do you know what I mean? And
I'm only confident when we're 3 up, when we're doing the side to side business and possession play. Anything less than that,
Mm.
they'll come back at us.
Yeah,
I'm
agree.
really confident when we 3 up.
Yeah.
And
I
then do
think
that.
that's the old City in us, isn't it? I think that's the old City in us. To be fair, I think we've always been that way. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the City artists is still definitely a thing, and it probably will always be. I don't believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it'll ever leave us. But I just think what it is, Governor, is like, and I know obviously Pat and Rich and obviously yourself will know this, like, but for me, you sort of see what's going to happen. Like you saw in the stadium, you get like the bit of, and I tell you another game exactly when it was. It was Chelsea when we absolutely battered him in the first half, and we should have been 2-3 up. And all of a sudden, you sat there at half time, and you're having a drink or like you're having a chat and in like the concourse and that, and you're thinking, I know what's coming here, and like you don't want to say it, but you know exactly what's going to happen. And to be honest, the difference within like, and I don't know what you guys think, but I always feel like this season it's almost like if we go a goal down or we're drawing, you're almost like, come on, like the old City, like we'll get back into this and we'll end up going on like win it or we'll end up cruising it. Whereas this season it's almost a bit like, what are we gonna like? What's gonna happen? And we're gonna turn around. Like the Forest game was another one where, like away from home, we were like, come on, like we can still get in this game and like we can win it, and we did. So then like you're like, well, you take positives from that, but then there's another game where, do you know what I mean? It's like,
do you think that's elements of PTSD in the fan base from last season, Al?
Give you a bit of
one Mitch,
because that still lingers around a bit. I think
that Chelsea game, unused. The substitutes that game: Ryan McIdu, James Trafford, Lewis, Mikasa, Heskey, Mafuni, Doku, back from injury, Nathan Ake with an injection, and Kuzanov. So
I get, I get that, Mitch, and I hear that point, and I do 100% hear that point. But the thing what has to be to me is we can't sit there at start of the season and go, we've got an amazing squad, and then not expect injuries, because injuries are always going to happen. So I hear what you're saying, and I completely get that. But I'm never ever going to blame injuries for us not winning trophies or us not winning stuff. I'm just never going. I'm not that kind of person. Honestly. Yeah, and I've heard Gunnar say this a lot of times, and I'm with Gunnar on this situation, so maybe it's a little bit of an odd question to ask me, maybe, but I honestly believe the people like Ryan McAdoo, if they were given a chance within like the actual team itself, like it's settled, so maybe like Diaz, Gaig, Nunes, O'Reilly, Rodri, I honestly believe you see a different Ryan McAdoo. I think it's hard to trust to look at Ryan McAdoo at the minute, because he's playing with these sort of new players. So like Reinder's just coming in playing at the same time as him. Mamouche's playing as a false nine, which I don't know if that's his best position. You've got Semenyo come in. I think it was against Exeter, his first game for us. Trafford's obviously in goal. So everything, Stones and Aki have come back after so many like months out. So it is hard to look at. It is hard to look at Ryan McAdoo in that sort of way. I think if he was brought into the first team with the solid team and foundation what we've got behind him, I think we possibly would see a different Ryan McAdoo. And I think it's fair to say that, because I think we've seen that a lot with people, whether it's Foden when he come through. I think
you think that with O'Reilly.
Nico O'Reilly, that's what I was going to say.
That's right. Yeah,
comes through as a first team player, but not with 8 rotations. And I think we've seen.
And he took his chance.
They can really do it.
Yeah,
also too, Elliot. I think the other thing too is with all academy players now, and I'll get to Nico O'Reilly about this in a second, but you have to understand now that every academy player comes through now has to be set to the same sort of level of quality or like in anticipation of like, how good these players are going to be, ever since Phil Foden came in 2017-18. You need to be at that sort of level now to be considered like good enough to break through the academy and make it in the first team football.
Completely agree.
Now Nico O'Reilly's gone ahead and done that in a different way, but I also think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's been around that academy since he was like 8 years old. So when you think about it, he was basically about 10 or 11 years old when Pep came in, and Pep, as we all know, he's got his hands in every level of that club, everywhere from the under fives all the way through to the first team football, basically. And Nico O'Reilly has said it, and I think Rico also said in interviews as well. They said players get to that academy, they go there thinking like, all right, I'm going to try and be the best winger or the best midfielder because that's what I did at my local grade school or my local division, football and that. And they said, no, we're going to teach you how to do everything. You're going to be a midfielder. We're going to be a midfielder who knows how to marshal right midfield or how to marshal left back or something like that. And that's the main reason why Nico O'Reilly's been able to transition so quickly into the first team football, because he understands that there's more to it. It's not just that, like, it's sort of like the psychology of football about understanding how the game sort of works, and basically not only just trying to just be a one-trick pony, just basically become like an absolute complete footballer, somebody who plays well with the ball. It doesn't matter what part of the pitch you're in, and basically being able to sort of work with the system or basically become, almost like a chameleon, like blend into the background of like.
I think what O'Reilly has is he has that, but what sets him apart from nearly all those other youth players coming through is his physicality. I mean, he's nearly 6'4". He's 80 kilos.
Question, Rich, do you think too, a big thing of that is, I'll let you continue a sec, is also too, I just thought about that with the physicality, is the Premier League's got a lot more physical now as well too. So you wonder if he was coming through in the academy ranks, say Centurion season period, might be a little bit different to what it is now. So I think he's also got the benefit of the fact that Premier League football seems to be flowing into more physical, more athletic, set pieces, long throw-ins, all that sort of stuff. We're going a bit back to the old school now. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think, for me, Rico Lewis is an incredibly intelligent footballer and a good footballer, but he gets found out physically with his size in some games and gets bullied. And I think that's what sets Nico O'Reilly apart, is that he's got the football brain coming through our academy that Rico Lewis has. And Rico Lewis, his movement's fantastic. He gets around, but he gets found out physically. Whereas O'Reilly has got that ability to play. He's got that flexibility. He's got the brain and the movement that Rico Lewis has, but he's got it with a 6'4", 80 kilo frame. That means he can stand up to Joe Linton, and he almost bullied Joe Linton at the first game at St James's Park, and no one bullies Joe Linton. Joe Linton's job is to go out there and bully people. And for a 20-year-old kid, with this ability he's got to be able to stand in that midfield and actually be the top dog, which he was that day against Newcastle, that just put him on a whole different echelon to me than we've seen from youth players. Because even with Phil's magic, he had to be brought in slowly over 2 or 3 years. O'Reilly's minutes this season will probably be more than Phil's first 2 seasons combined, because that physicality is just exceptional for a young player.
You've got to remember he came in as left back, and then he went to AFCON, so he had to fill that position, and then we got another injury, and he Pep tries him in the midfield, and he's never looked back.
Yeah.
So he's took his chance,
Yeah.
But
and that was
the whole thing we were saying about Mikado. I had this argument. I mean, we always have it. Is if Pep's got the small squad syndrome, and we're playing three games a week, you've got to use your bench. You've got to use them all.
Agree.
You can't leave it 70th minute and then we go behind and then put them on. You've got to rest these players. Some of them players were dying on their ass, and he won't change them. And there's lads sat on the bench raring to go. I think Pep got it wrong a few times this season, but he has to use that bench.
Completely agree, Governor. And another thing, Governor, is we're using examples for players. We've just gone through, Richard just mentioned, Rico Lewis, Nico O'Reilly, Phil Foden. Obviously, there's more people who's come through, like Cole Palmer, Jadon Sancho through his academy, and they've gone and done what they've done. But there's examples there, Governor. If there wasn't any examples there, I think there'd be that little bit of, all right, then, the young players, they're coming through. We don't normally do this kind of thing. But there's examples there. And you know what it might take, Governor? It might take a Ramikado coming on the pitch to create a little bit of space for a goal to happen. Ramikado not touched the ball once, but he's created that little bit of pocket of space for Cherke, Mamouche, Haaland, whoever it may be, to go and score the goal. So you have to look at it. But I think, just touching on it again, the thing with what I will say about Nico O'Reilly is, and I've said this since day one, I think has a little bit of belief in him as well, Nico. And I'm not going to come on to the topic, but I don't think Phil Foden has that bit of like I don't know if it's belief or it's cockiness or if it's arrogance. I don't know what I don't know what it is. I'll leave people up to that to decide what they think of that situation. But for me, I look at Nico O'Reilly, and if I've just, and obviously I know you lads will have done this as well, and other people have in the chat. When you just focus on one player for 5-10 minutes, I've just watched Nico O'Reilly, and it almost like he owns the pitch. Now, that's scary to say with the age what he's at, and like Governor's just said, he's just gone into midfield. Now, for him to own the pitch, the only time I've ever looked at that, and I thought that in maybe the last 10 decades where I've looked at Nico and I've gone, right, you look like you kind of boss this midfield, is De Bruyne, David Silva, Bernardo, Rodri, Fernandinho. We're talking about world-class legend players at this club here.
Yeah, I was saying earlier, Elliot, the one most like Nico O'Reilly was Yaya.
Yeah. I'm just literally going to come on say, I'm just literally going to come on. Yeah, I'm literally just going to come on say and just say the way that he strides. And I mean, the goal against, what was it against when Marlon chipped the ball in and he edited it? I can't remember against. I think he scored 2. Like, did he score 2 against? He scored 2, didn't he? I can't think who. Fulham. Fulham,
Nico O'Reilly.
Nico O'Reilly. Yeah. He scored
Newcastle. Newcastle.
Was it
Newcastle? It was Newcastle. Yeah, he hit that low shot with his left foot past Pope, and then the other one that sort of floated out.
Sorry, Pat. Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. So, and I just think I think we've got a gem of a player on his hands. Just going back to the question what Yes Meal Impacts, I didn't answer you, sorry, mate, but about the PTSD. Yeah, it's a thing. It's definitely a thing, and whether people admit that or not. The only thing I will say, and this is going to sound very, very wrong for me, and I don't agree with this kind of thing, but for people to forget about the PTSD, the only way you're going to forget about it is if you're going to win trophies.
Of course, yeah.
Because I think if you win trophies, I think people then all of a sudden go, oh, we can still win trophies. It's almost like at the minute, can we win a trophy? Well, of course we can. We win every competition possible, so we can always win a trophy. But I think that's the feeling I get when I go to the games, Pat. And I'm sure it's like so when you being across and Governor and obviously Richie, you've sort of sports people, you probably get a little bit of a vibe as well. I think there's also a bit of a split in the fan base. I know obviously Martin's touched on that previously, and obviously I don't go too much into it, but I think that's not helpful.
Probably explains why away days have been so electric lately. Like
I think that's what it is, Pat. I think that's what it is. But I think like I think there's a really togetherness on like away days, and obviously I think it has picked up a lot this season. And I think that's obviously due to where we're on the league, in every competition possible.
Elliot, the irony is there was a lot of complaining from Newcastle fans about some very conspicuous City fans sitting down the front of the stadium at St James's, getting City shirts signed by, was it Semenyo?
Semenyo,
someone else. And, Newcastle saying this is the death of St James's Park, City fans at our end. And, we chatted with one of the Newcastle fans on the post-match, and it was basically, we've been complaining about that at City for a few years now. Particularly European games where, fans come in from all over, fly from America or something, to watch City Real Madrid. Now, diehard City fan, maybe not even a diehard, pure football tourist, and Newcastle starting to see that and just saying that it's inevitable with success, and it's sad. And it does. It's why some of us look back at days, like when Brian Horton was manager or something, and look back really fondly when there was none of that nonsense. But it comes with success.
Of course it does, yeah. I've always said it great.
It's fun, but you say that too, like you say, like poor season and that, win trophies to get over it. The thing is, I try to look at it because my copium is usually to look at it and say, like, well, look, just removed from a treble, sooner or later you are going to have a little bit of a drop off. When you've reached the absolute peak of where your squad can go, usually the way sport works, and this is all sports, there is going to be a bit of a drop off for some period. And my first example learning that when I grew up was basically, I don't want to turn this into a cricket show, but obviously 06-07 Ashes, when you had Shane Warne, Glenn McGrath, Justin Langer all leaving the same test, right? You're not going to replace that. It's going to take you a long time to replace that sort of quality in a squad. That's right. And I think that works in every single sport, the way it works too. United, when Fergie left, they thought they had systems in place that were going to work. It's like, you can't replace somebody like that. Sometimes you got to tear the whole thing down and start all over again, or you're going to have to admit the fact that you're probably going to go through some rough patches for even 1 or 2 seasons, or even periods of like several seasons before you truly know whether you're going to be back again, or you're going to be able to perform again, or be as successful with new players and a new system as you were the first time around when you did it, basically. So the way I kind of look at it is, I don't look at it as in like trophies will make things better. I'm always like, we've reached the top. Now I have to accept the fact that we're going to be down in the cellar for a little while until things get better. I think that's the problem.
I think the thing is,
just like,
yeah.
Too reactionary.
I'm going to probably
consider
yeah. I agree with that. I think that I'm probably going to contradict myself a little bit here, but what I'm going to say to you is, I think
Brendan says it here. We said we'll have that when Pep goes.
Well, this is what I'm just going to say. I'm just going to come to this point. I think a lot of fear is, while we've got the best manager, in my opinion, of all time, I think this is the chance to wrap up these trophies and get them won, and do you know what I mean? Sort of just full send. Right. Like it should be normal. It's not normal. It's not normal. But to be in a title race near enough every season since he's been here, for him to finish third, it'd be a bad season when he's had God knows how many injuries he's had last season.
Yeah.
For him to like win a treble, like you said, 4 in a row, Centurions, for him to do all these stuff, it's not normal. But we look at it as it's normal. And I'm sort of going to contradict myself, because what I'm going to say is, I do believe when he leaves, people might go, yeah, we had it, you know what I mean, unbelievably, and we didn't realise till now. But what I am going to also say to you is, I think the board maybe will not allow people to think like that. I think the board's aspirations are, and I know Richard said this, and Governor, and yourself, Pat, the aspiration of the club is to win. And I know Carl Doom's come out and said that, and I think that this is where I've said, I think said to Martin privately before, when people are coming out and they're saying these things, that's giving people who we maybe not class as, this might come across us, maybe true City fans since 99, since 98, since 97, these sort of fans, all they've ever known, which by the way, I'm going to say this, isn't their fault. It's not their fault when they were born. It's not their fault when they got brought through and their dad may have gone, tell you what, son, I'm going to say it today, I've been a City fan since the 80s and 70s and whatever, blah, blah, blah. So that's not their fault, but all they've ever known is success, Pat. So for me, I think the club maybe want to keep that within the loop, and I get the feeling of the club. For an example, in January, Semenyo Gay, it's statement signings. So for me, I never looked at the club and gone, you know what, like you've dropped off massively. Apart from maybe the Savio and Doku signings, which I think maybe look like projects, sort of, and obviously Echeverri and people that was gone out on loan, and Naipan and people like that who are these younger players. They don't very rarely sign these project players to become this big sort of thing. And I think this is probably where there's been a little bit of a confusion, where Savio's come in and we've gone, right, we're going to make this play into the next best thing, right, we're going to make Dock into the next best thing. Whether that happens or not, it's a different conversation. That we'll have a conversation that in probably 2-3 years, 4 years time. But I think that's where the club's gone differently. Now, these players deserve the chance to prove themselves. I've said it since day one. I'll have my hands up. If I say it, I always turn around and said Doku, he was like a speedboat having a driver. Recently, and I will say this, especially this season, he has sort of found a little bit of a driver. Can his performances be better? Of course they can. His performance can be much better. And that's the same with anybody, whether that's Foden, whether that's Kushner, whether that's Diaz. You've got to hold the players to the same accountability. And I think that's the biggest problem, Pat, what I'm going to come on to, my last point. There's not a lot of players who, if I like Kushner and you like Diaz, I have to select Diaz off for my point to come out. No, it doesn't.
That's the thing that myself and Martin that have been battling with for years now, where the only way you can prop up one player is by slugging another one off, and that's not how things should work. That's not how
not a chance.
That's not how people should function. No, you talk whatever you love, talk it up until the cows come home. That's fine. You stated that you love something, but you don't have to turn around and say something that's, again, it just comes down to the fact that, it's a very competitive sport, football, but the problem is people don't realize just how competitive in-house it can actually be. It's like, you like this player for this certain reason, but then it very quickly turns into, it's like, hang on a sec, this other player's trying to take my favorite player's spot. So then you automatically go on the defensive, you go more like go on the attack that sort of player. But that comes down to the player FC mentality and not actually worrying about the front of the shirt. They're too worried about the back of the shirt.
100%, mate.
Pat, we've obviously got to wrap up shortly.
Yeah.
I was just wondering how everyone thinks, what the predictions are from the three of you for the game. I know our predictions league is the Premier League, and this is something different, but I'll be quite interested to see how you all think will go in Madrid.
I
Well,
think
I'll let you go first.
if their team,
You don't like score predictions
if
anyway.
we believe in their injuries, we've got to go for it. And I'm looking at a 2-1-3-1. We've got to go for it. If they're genuine about their injuries, then we've got to go for it.
Especially the fixtures.
Confident me's
especially
thinking 3-1, thinking like there's something in there. I mean, you look at how we played in December. I mean, back then we were still trying to sort a lot of things out, and there were a couple of injuries. Well, not necessarily. It's quite a strong lineup in that game, actually, but we're still trying to sort a lot of things out. Then we still hadn't even really turned a new leaf into the new season. Basically, we still went out there and performed, and we kept them at bay for 45 minutes in the second half. So
I think now away goals have gone. I think they'd happily take a home draw, try and get Mbappe back, for a week's time, and try and go for a 1-0 win in Manchester. So I think we want to try and get a couple of goals in Madrid.
That's right.
Get ahead, and then force them to take big risks at the Etihad, and then we can play on the counter and just be really dangerous.
Yeah.
My thing is, it's the fixtures, lads, and I don't know whether you've touched on them or not, whether you've seen them, but the fixtures after, let's just say now, from now, to be honest, they are, they're not great, and this sort of like, this sort of changes my little thought thing on it. The fact that I get what you're saying, Rich, and I get that, and I'm in that little bit of a mode. My brother's in that sort of mode as what you just said as well, like where you get a draw and then you bring them back home. But my little thing on that is, it's what the results might be around that time. Do you know what I mean? I don't want us to start dropping points or maybe go out of the cup and then it damages like your sort of momentum. Like I put in the chat earlier on, but I don't know if you've seen it.
Well,
for me now, it's momentum.
Yeah, I think the Forest is the wake up call now. It's like, all right, you've had the slap in the face now go for it.
Yeah, and I don't like to say, and I touched, and for me, people go, well, that's very attacking, but for me, I'd go Mamouche, Doku, Semenyo and Haaland. I'd go all four, and I'd just go, you know what, Bernardo, Rodri, you just sit there, you do your basics. You don't do anything too clever. You just do the basics of football.
So where do you play Mamouche in central?
I play Mamouche I play Mamouche just in the 10, just behind all. I literally have a double pivot of Rodri and Bernardo just sat there. One goes, one stays back. It's times both stay back and just do your basics. I'd have Nunes at right full back, but I tell Nunes to not push on as much as what he has done recently. Because I just think if you're opening yourself up a little bit too much, that's where there may be an issue. And I'd have O'Reilly at left back. And I like Antony, but I just think O'Reilly as an actual full back, he sort of got, and I think Rich said it as well. He sort of got a little bit of like that defensive awareness because he's played it. He sort of like reads it and he knows where to be, he knows what to do. I'm not saying Antony doesn't, by the way, but I'm just saying I'd probably feel a little bit more comfortable with that. And then obviously Kushnerov and Gay at centre half. I'd go. Nothing on Diaz. I just think this fixture, I think with Kushnerov's pace, he sort of can cover both sides. He can cover Antony.
That insurance,
yeah, that insurance like policy kind of thing where if that ball goes in behind, you've got Kushnerov's pace, and that I would personally go that. And I just think you said to Doku, Semenyo, Haaland, Mamouche, right? Do what you need to do. You want to go on the right, go on the right. You want to go on the left, and just cause absolute havoc. Because I think if I'm honest, if City were to get not early goal, 20, 30 minutes into the game, we were to get a goal, and I think automatically, I think there's a little bit of Madrid will probably start thinking, we probably can't be going away to the Etihad, going back there with a loss. So we need to at least get. And I think then all of a sudden you see Madrid then start pushing on, attacking, going for the goal, and then that leaves more space in behind. Then, like Rich said, Savio, bring him on. You can put Mamouche, like I say, you can put Mamouche more on the wing, bring Semenyo off, maybe put a Foden on in the mid. You don't know. You've got Cherky, he'll come on and he can create something out of nothing. So you've got a little bit of a difference now. And I think a squad is isn't that
it is going to be fascinating because I do think we have, we couldn't decide on any of the positions really. I mean, so you said earlier, I think Diaz will be one of the first names on the team sheet for Madrid. I think if Kusanov plays, it might be instead of Nunes or,
I would. I'm going with you,
O'Reilly.
Rich.
Yeah,
I'm
not
going with
O'Reilly,
you, Rich.
but
Kusanov.
I think O'Reilly starts in midfield because I just think he's too good not to start in midfield. So, I think that's the beauty. I think Pep rested 10 players against Newcastle, probably thinking he's going to start 9 or 10. But he came after the Newcastle game. He's thinking, how can I leave out Doku? How can I leave out Marmoush? How can I leave out Savio? How can I leave out Gonzalez? How can I leave out Kusanov? So he came out of that with a real, and that's a really good problem to have. And
But the thing is,
all of us on the team for Madrid, it'll probably be a team different to what any of us thought. Something else.
Yeah, it'd be
just a quick question, mate, just before you shoot. Yeah, just before you wrap up. Would you not be concerned with, so obviously, if Diaz is obviously going to play, he's going to play on the right side of the 4, you'd imagine, with Gueye on the left-hand side, like we see.
What I did, and I'm a bit obsessed with this. I want 3 out-and-out defenders always playing for City. So I would have in most of the game, we have 3 centre-backs, Kusanov right, Diaz centre, Gueye left. And then whether you have Aït-Nouri playing left and they all slide right and Kusanov's right back, or whether you have Nunes playing and they all slide left and Gueye's nominally left back when Nunes is back, I don't mind too much. But I would like to have Diaz's experience of winning in Madrid, of winning the Champions League and everything there. But I want Kusanov's insurance because his pace, his physicality.
Yeah. The thing what concerns me with the Diaz thing, and this is where I'm at with it a little bit. I'm not saying he's like he's slow as anything because he's not. But I just think like when Nunes' pace and Kusanov's pace, I think that sort of locks down that left hand side. So if I'm correct in saying this, Rodrigo and Mbappe are both injured and not playing.
Yeah,
if I'm correct.
Rodrigo and Mbappe, possibly Bellingham as well.
Right. So what I'm going to say to you is everything's going to come on the left hand side with Vinicius. If anything comes. So what I'm saying is, just say for one instance,
to be honest, when you say usually the biggest threat in the right would probably be Valverde, and Valverde, obviously, we know is absolute quality.
But that's what I'm saying.
He does tend to play more on the right hand side.
If Kusanov plays there, Kusanov can keep Vinicius quiet. Aït-Nouri can wander off wherever he wants, can go wide, let Doku float in the middle. Aït-Nouri goes right down that left wing. And then we've got Gueye defending the left side, Kusanov the right side, and Diaz keeping them organised in the middle.
Yeah, I get it. Like I say, it's good
part of it is how quiet can you keep Valverde? If you keep Valverde quiet, I think you're a long way there to getting the victory.
Yeah, Bernardo
I just worry if Vinicius was to take Kusanov on and then it to be against Diaz. That's where that's me being honestly. And or not, that's where, and I just think, if Kusanov was there and they had Nunes, I feel like even if Vinicius was to take Nunes on, which is probably going to happen because that's just football, naturally. If he was to take Nunes on, you've then got Kusanov as your insurance, cover behind him.
I reckon Vinicius will probably be getting sent off because Bernardo will be able to focus on giving him the shit rather than in previous games giving about 6 or 7 of them. So
I think if he gets booked, Rich, I think he's out for the second leg. I'm sure I've seen that somewhere, Vinicius. I think
Vinicius will be.
Vinicius is out for the second.
Didn't we say he should have played against Newcastle and get a card at Newcastle and get it out of the way?
Well, that's
Vinicius. Governor. I'm on about Vinicius Junior from Madrid. I believe if he gets booked tomorrow, he's out of the second leg. So I just think and another thing, if Nunes is going the other way, if he's going up the line, sort of, he's bombing on a little bit, Vinicius is tired, he's going to pulling him back. So that's straight away there for me. It's going to be a free kick. I don't see Kusanov bombing up and down on the right hand side. I hear it and I get it.
I can see Bernardo trying to get under Vinicius' skin all 90 minutes.
Well, why not, Pat? Why not, man?
No,
why not?
Bernardo pull as much shit out as they try to do on us.
Bernardo has got to get 1 yellow card in the next 2 games to avoid it. It's match 31. And if he gets 2 yellows...
That's a Premier League. Champions League is fine, mate.
Yeah. So I'm just saying the Premier League's the governor. if
we
he
said this, I think,
avoids
two cards in the
yellow
next 3
card in
games.
one of those games, he's okay.
Yeah.
And we can always drop him for the second one. If he gets a yellow at West Ham, we can always tell him.
It's like the options there when Rick said at the beginning of the show where you could play Nunes, and I said if Vinny gets the better of him, then Cuz has got to come in. Don't mess around. Get Cuz back in there.
Yeah. Anyway, I have to go. I've got to.
No, you're right, mate. We're going to wrap up now anyway. So,
See you later, Rich.
Nice to chat to you, Gov.
Thanks,
Elliot,
Rich.
and Pat.
Yeah, nice one, mate. See you later, mate.
Appreciate it, mate. Talk to you
Take
later.
care, Rich.
See you. Bye.
All right, guys.
Yeah, we definitely have good options, man. I've said this for a while now. I think, like, I don't know if you've seen the news on Kovacic. Obviously he started training again, hasn't he, with the first team? So I think that's a positive. The one thing I will say is, and I don't know what you guys think. Have you two forgot? This is because I'm really bad. Have you two forgotten about Rico Lewis? Because I didn't even realise he was injured till the other day. Till Pep said something.
Yeah, no, it's just gone out the window, hasn't he?
Yeah, do you know what we're governor? I was like, said to one of the lads at the game, I was like, where's Rico? And he's injured, and I'm like.
He played in the 10 goaler against Exeter, and I don't think I've seen him since.
That's apparently he got injured, but I'm not sure how. I don't know how true that is. I'm not saying Pep's lying or whatever, but I don't know whether that's.
It. You know,
No.
Back or, yeah.
No. But like I said, when everyone is fit, governor, that's another question. Who drops out on the team? Because obviously, at the start of the season, it was like Oscar Bob and that, wasn't it? And obviously, it were like Rico at start of the season as well. And
Elliot, if you're looking at players that we're supposed to be bringing in, then obviously Rico's he'll be going, won't he?
Yeah,
I know Pep trusts him. Pep is one of them trusted players with Pep. But if these players do come in the summer, that's it. I think he's
No, I think we'll see a lot gone, governor. My honest opinion, my honest thought is I reckon we'll see at least 4 or 5 gone. And I just think like maybe that's like that then after that is like the time where you go, right, that is a rebuild fully done. We've done it within maybe 2-3.
I think the whole transfer thing, we're waiting for Rodri's decision, and I think then you can sort of get a picture of where we're going to go. Until that decision's made, I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, what do you do? Do you go out and just sign? Do you go out and just sign someone just in case, or do you? The thing what I don't want to. I personally, I'm maybe in the maybe least in this situation, but I'm not going to start crying if Roddy was to leave on a free. Now I know people will be, and I get that, I hear that, but I feel like Roddy's given us enough. Yeah, no, and I gotta go, and I hear that side of it, mate, and I do, but I just think like if Roddy was to go and you was to get another good year out of Roddy, and it meant maybe Roddy takes off at the same time as Pep. So be it, mate. For me, I'm one of them. Yeah, I'm not gonna start crying if Roddy was to go. If KDB, obviously it's upsetting and it's not nice. Obviously these players are massive part of our history, and Bernardo, David Silva, Fernandinho, Yaya, all these players. Yeah. But this is what happens, and then it's time for another player to come in, and then do the next best thing. Like the one thing and I don't know I've not actually heard anything on your two thoughts on this, but I don't think Anderson will play as a 6 for us. I see Anderson more as an 8.
Well,
which then means is Bernardo definitely gone, because obviously by rumours obviously just says Anderson as a done deal with what I've read.
That's it. I mean, I think Anderson's been brought in to do the Bernardo role if he does go, and that's another question. And with Martin saying Pep wants Foden to do the 6, which I think he'll ruin his career doing that. Yeah. Like playing in the 6, I can't see Foden doing that at all. Not one bit.
Yeah, I'm really, and I'm not going to go on to it but I'm really, really concerned about Foden at the minute. I just don't.
I've told you this, Elliot. Can I tell you this, Elliot? What as a professional player, how long do you think a professional player's got? 10, 15 years?
Yeah, I mean, with the way that they look at it, the way they look at each other now, the way that they look after each other now, governor, like with all this technology, with like the VPS vest and everything, and obviously like they track obviously like the speed of the running and the like recovery wise and all the stuff what they can have nowadays. I honestly believe you're probably looking at that. I mean, when did Foden make it? Were it 17, if I remember right? There was 17 when he made it.
Is he at that age now where you think he's at his pinnacle and he's coming down now?
I think he should be at his peak. Yeah, I think he should be at his peak now, like now to like next 3-4 years. I believe.
you know.
He shouldn't have peaked now. He shouldn't have peaked now because the way Pep protected him for those first 3 seasons when he made his debut, he shouldn't be doing that now. You know, it's not a case of like what Wenger did with Jack Wilshere when he was playing him at 16, 17, 18 years of age, and then he was burnt out before he was even 25 years of age.
And the thing is, he's not had any serious injury, has he?
No. I just look at him, Governor and Pat, and I don't know. Actually, I don't want to go too far into it, like 'cause it can spark up a big debate. But I just look at it. I just look at it, and I just think like,
I know what you mean.
You've got to be fair. Like, we can't just sit there and go, come from his academy, and this is where I'm fair with it. I had questions on Doku, and I said to everybody back then, like, look, Doku, like his third season, it's a big season. We're now probably, and I know people are going to throw this at me, stats and everything, and his goals and his stuff, but I'm watching Foden with my own eyes, and I know whether people want to shank him or not, something's not right there. There's an issue going on there. My issue now is, Governor, and you're great to ask, you've done very thinking to ask this question. We now, if Foden doesn't do well in the next few months, which I'll be honest, I don't believe we're going to get any better out of Foden than what we've seen this season. We're then going to end up coming to another season where that's going to be his third season. Because last year, this year, and then obviously next year, it's going to be his third season. Now, he's also got 1 year left in his contract. So this is the biggest dilemma for me out of them all. Rodri, Bernardo, the rest of them, this is where I'm at with it. What are we going to do? Because you cannot give Foden 300 grand a week.
And he's supposed to be getting a new one.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Good, 300 grand a week.
Yeah.
Really, I'm not so sure on that one at this minute. And like I said, and I'll add this on at this minute in time. I'm not sure on that at all. I think there maybe needs to be like
I always think he'd be a one club man. I can't see him going anywhere else.
Yeah, well, there were rumours of Barcelona, weren't there?
The only way he would go somewhere is if he had some absolutely phenomenal seasons, like on a level that was even greater than his PFA Player of the Year award season, and Real Madrid paid out the ass for it to get him in.
I don't need the thing is, sorry, bro, sorry, mate, to cut you. I don't need that. I don't need Foden to be any better than what he was. I'm at Foden being as good as what he was that season. Like, he doesn't need to improve anymore for me. That season, what he had. But
I'm saying that's the only way you would stop him from being a one club man, in my opinion, was either career-ending injury, which God forbid, knock on wood. If he blew competition away, 20 goals, 20 assists, like was breaking records and that, for years on end.
My brother asked me a question. Let me ask you it both, right? He said to me, do you think it could, and this is a very good question, do you think it could be anything to do with the fact of he's heard the same voice since he was 16, 17 with Pep? Do you think it maybe have gone a little bit stale between him and I'm not saying that they hate each other and they argue every day. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm saying, do you think that maybe a new voice with Foden, maybe just to put his arm around him and say, look, like, I know what's happened, like, last 2 or 3 years you've struggled, whatever, blah, blah, but now, from now on, you tell me where you want to play in a 10, right, I'm going to play you in a 10. If you play bad, I'm going to play you again. If you play bad again, I'm going to play you again, and put that little bit of trust in him. I don't know whether, and in this way, it was a good question when you asked me, because I was a bit like, I'm not sure. Anyway, you're not saying yeah or no. You're not answering the question. So there must be something within you where it thinks, is that a legit thing? And in that way, this can happen with any player.
Well, you have got Pep too there. You think that might have changed, but nothing's changed, has it?
No, Governor. And I don't know. And this is what I mean. I don't know how much of a thing Pep speaks to, because it's almost like when he comes out in press conference, he always said he's going to get back to his best. I believe in him. And it's almost like the same.
He's always said that, hasn't he?
Yeah, I don't know. Remains to be seen what happens, but it's a good shout with Phil, because you don't know. Maybe just hearing the same voice all the time runs its course. You know, who knows? But we'll see. Guys, if you're all right, we're going to wrap up because it's 11 o'clock here, and I've got to be up for work in about 5-6 hours. Big up to everybody who got involved. Elliot, thanks for coming on, mate. Much appreciated. Just before we do, I'll just put this link up for Dash as well too, for his for the Students with Cancer Foundation as well, the charity event there. Details if you want to donate, just scan that QR code. I'll leave that there for a few more seconds. Also, he did leave a link up in the top of the comments as well. So I'll see if I can find that as well. Let's see. Where is it? Yeah, this one as well. Yeah, so crowdfunder.co.uk. for UOW Youth Against Teen Cancer fundraiser. So yeah, if you'd like to contribute to that, that is the links and the QR code as well. So big up to Dash and big up to everybody. We will be back with Stateside Blues for Real Madrid post-match late Wednesday evening. So keep an eye, keeping it UK time, that is. So keep an eye and an ear out for that. Thursday night chat will be back as well. I believe Martin will be back as well too. He seems to be making a decent recovery. So big up to him. I'll leave it at that. And Blues Down Under, of course, should be back roughly around this time next week. We'll probably be dissecting West Ham. Probably talk about. Well, I think we'll be getting ready for the second leg of Real Madrid too, won't we? So, lots to look forward to, guys. And yeah, I mean, very excited about Real Madrid. I think this is probably the most confidence we've taken coming into the Bernabeu in the last 5-6 years, anyway.
That may be dangerous, Pat, to add on to that. That may be a dangerous thing, Wheels, because when we normally
I know, but I did say at the top of the show, if Ancelotti was still boss there, I probably would keep it to myself. But I'm quietly confident.
Yeah.
Actually. So we'll see how we go with that anyway. But yeah, big up to Elliot. Thanks for coming on, mate. Much appreciated.
Nice one, mate. Nice one, lads. Yeah.
And Governor, always a pleasure, mate. Never a chore. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
I'm your host, Pat. That's another episode of Blues Down Under, and we will look forward to seeing you again sooner rather than later. And always, and remember, up the Blues.
Come on, boys.
Good night, everyone.
Get it.